The galaxy was calm. For thousands of years, countless civilizations had risen and fallen. Wars had burned across the stars, alliances had been made and broken, yet still, the galaxy turned in silence. And humanity. They were the newest voice among the stars. Young. Bold. Restless. They had fought wars, survived betrayals, and pushed deeper into space than anyone had expected. But despite everything, they were still considered small. To the elder species, humans were loud children, daring, stubborn, reckless, and destined to fade away. Then it happened. On a quiet night above Earth, deep space sensors caught something unusual. A pulse. Faint, but powerful. Not natural. Not random. It was a signal. At first, scientists dismissed it. Stars often whispered noise into the void, echoes of dying suns and collapsing worlds. But this signal was different. It repeated. Not once. Not twice. Over and over again, across hours, across days. The pattern carried rhythm. It was not chaos. It was a message. In secret, the world's greatest minds gathered. Governments argued. Military leaders demanded silence. But the truth could not be hidden for long. The signal carried more than rhythm. It carried numbers. Coordinates. The location pointed toward an ancient sector of space. A place unmapped. A place avoided. Old records from alien archives spoke of it only in whispers. Even the boldest explorers had erased those coordinates from their charts. Legends named it the domain of the Great Three. No one alive had seen them. Some claimed they were gods. Others swore they were monsters. But all agreed on one thing: those who went searching for them never returned. The question spread like fire. Do we answer? Do we follow it? The United Earth Council argued for weeks. Some said humanity must go. Curiosity had always been their greatest strength. Others warned this was not a discovery, but a trap. A law meant to drag humanity into something far beyond their control. And yet, the signal continued. Relentless. Calling. Whispers grew in the streets. Stories spread on the networks. People asked each other, what if it's them? What if the Great Three are real? The more they thought about it, the more fear spread. Because if the Great Three were real, what else was true? And why now? Why send a signal now, after thousands of years of silence? No empire wanted to admit it, but everyone knew the truth. If humans didn't follow the call, someone else would. And if someone else reached the Great Three first, humanity might never get another chance. So a decision was made. A single expedition would be launched. Not an army. Not a war fleet. Just one ship, carrying the best of humanity's explorers, scientists, and soldiers. If this was a trap, they would fall alone. But if it was real, if the Great Three truly waited in that forgotten corner of the stars, then humanity would carry the discovery home. When the announcement was made, the galaxy laughed. Elder species mocked the decision. Foolish humans, they said. Always rushing into fire. Always chasing shadows. But the humans did not laugh. They prepared. And when the day came, the ship rose from Earth's atmosphere like a spear thrown into the night. As it vanished into the darkness of space, one truth settled in every heart. This was no ordinary mission. This was not science. This was not politics. This was something older. Something dangerous. Something final. For the first time, humanity was not asking what they could discover. They were asking what would discover them. And far beyond the stars, something stirred. Something ancient. Something waiting. The signal pulsed one last time across the void. And the galaxy held its breath. Because everyone knew, though no one dared say it aloud. Humanity had found the trail of the Great Three. And when the trail ends, something always dies. The ship was called Odyssey. It was not the largest vessel humanity had built, nor the most powerful. But it carried something far greater than weapons or shields. It carried human hope. From orbit above Earth, millions watched as the Odyssey's engines roared to life. Flames cut through the darkness, and the vessel slowly drifted toward the endless night. For a moment, the world was silent. Even those who mocked humanity's decision watched. This was no simple mission. This was humanity stepping into a story older than their race, older than any empire, older than the galaxy itself. The crew on board felt the weight of that silence. 50 men and women, chosen from every corner of Earth. Soldiers, scientists, pilots, thinkers, dreamers. They all knew the risks. They all knew the legends. Yet when the captain spoke before departure, his words were simple. If the signal is a lie, then we return with nothing. If it is truth, then we face what no one else has dared. And with those words, the Odyssey cut free of Earth's gravity and vanished into the deep. Days passed. Then weeks. The voyage was unlike any before. The coordinates given by the signal did not lead through safe lanes of travel. They led into dead zones, vast regions of empty space where even starlight seemed weak. The crew began to feel it. A pressure. Not on their bodies, but on their minds. Like unseen eyes watching every step, every thought, every heartbeat. One night, a young scientist named Kira woke screaming. She claimed she had seen something outside her window. Not a star. Not a planet. A shadow. A shape moving against the void itself. The others laughed nervously, but no one truly doubted her. Because each of them, in their own way, had felt the same. The deeper they traveled, the stranger the universe became. In the control room, instruments flickered without warning. Sensors recorded impossible readings, stars bending where none should exist, gravitational waves pulsing without a source, echoes of voices buried in static. The navigator whispered, "Space itself is wrong here." And he was right. It was as if the Odyssey had slipped into a place that did not follow the laws of creation. Light bent where it should not bend. Darkness moved where it should not move. Yet the signal remained clear, always guiding, always pulling them forward. Fear grew stronger with each passing day. The soldiers whispered that this was no mission of discovery. This was a test. The scientists debated whether the Great Three even existed. Perhaps this was some ancient machine, long forgotten, still repeating its last call into the void. But the captain said nothing. He sat in silence, staring at the stars, his jaw tight, his eyes unblinking. He knew the truth. He had seen it in the data. The signal was not fading. It was growing stronger. Something at the end of their path was alive. On the 22nd day, the Odyssey passed through a region of absolute silence. No stars. No radiation. No sound. Just endless black. The crew stared through the windows, and more than one whispered a prayer. Because in that void, the human mind began to imagine shapes. Faces. Eyes. Some swore they saw movement. Others said they heard whispers inside their helmets. But nothing was certain. Nothing was real. And still, the ship moved on. Then, suddenly, light. The darkness broke, and before them stretched a dead system. A place no chart had ever recorded. 3 massive objects floated in perfect balance around a dark star. Not worlds. Not moons. But structures. Each one larger than a continent. Each one shaped like a throne. The Odyssey slowed. Silence filled the control room. They had arrived. For a long time, no one spoke. No one breathed. Every eye was locked on the view outside the windows. It was not possible. It should not exist. And yet there it was, 3 thrones in the void, waiting in eternal stillness. The pilot whispered, almost too afraid to speak. We've found them." The crew did not cheer. They did not smile. Because in that moment, every one of them felt the same thing. They were not alone. Something was here. Something watching. Something older than time itself. And for the first time since the Odyssey left Earth, every soul on board wished they had never come. The Odyssey drifted in silence. Engines quiet. Weapons offline. Shields humming faintly. No one dared move too fast. No one dared breathe too loudly. Before them stood the impossible. 3 colossal thrones, each larger than mountains, circled a black star. Not orbiting randomly, no. Their motion was perfect. Balanced. Precise. like a dance written into the bones of the universe itself. The first throne was jagged, shaped from black stone that glowed faintly with cracks of red fire. It looked alive, like it was breathing. The second throne shimmered with shifting lights, silver and gold, as though 1,000 stars were trapped inside its frame. The third throne was the worst. It was not stone. Not light. It was shadow. A throne carved from pure absence, so dark it seemed to swallow sight itself. The crew stared in silence. Some gripped their chairs until their knuckles turned white. Others whispered prayers they had not spoken since childhood. "How long have they been here?" one scientist finally asked. No one answered. Because the real question was not how long. The real question was why. The captain ordered scans. The Odyssey's sensors reached out cautiously, measuring, probing, searching for life. At first, there was nothing. No heat. No movement. No signal. Then the readings spiked. Every screen flickered. Every system screamed warnings. Energy levels surged far beyond anything humanity had ever recorded. It was not technology. It was not nature. It was something else. "Shut it down," the captain barked. But it was too late. The thrones had noticed. The black star pulsed. Once. Twice. 3 times. And with each pulse, the ship trembled, as though space itself was shaking. Then came the voice. It was not sound. It was not words. It was a thought. A command. A weight pressing into every mind on board. "Who seeks the 3? The crew gasped. Some screamed. Others clutched their heads, blood dripping from their noses as the voice thundered inside their skulls. The captain forced himself to stand. We are humans. From Earth." His voice shook, but he spoke. "We followed your signal." For a moment, silence. Then the voice returned. "Humans. Small flames in a dying galaxy. You stand where none should stand. You see what none should see." The crew froze. The legends were true. The Great 3 were real. Fear spread like poison. One soldier whispered, "We should leave. Now. Before they destroy us." Another replied, "Leave? After coming this far? Do you think they will let us leave?" The truth sat heavy in every heart. Once you stood before gods, there was no turning back. The first throne moved. Slowly, the jagged black stone cracked wider, spilling red light into the void. And then, something stood. A figure of fire. A giant of molten rock, its body burning with rivers of lava, its eyes like suns ready to explode. The ship's alarms wailed. Temperatures rose inside the hull though no flame touched them. The crew stared in horror. The voice came again, deeper now, shaking their bones. "I am the first. The keeper of beginnings. Why do you come to this place?" The captain tried to answer, but his words caught in his throat. What answer could explain human greed? Human curiosity? Human defiance? No answer came. Only silence. And in that silence, the keeper's fire burned brighter. The second throne awakened. From the silver seat, light poured outward. Not fire this time, but blinding brilliance, streams of pure energy, forming into the shape of another being. This one was not a giant of stone. This one was endless light, its body made of stars, its gaze piercing every soul on board. "I am the second. The weaver of truth. All lies burn before me." One of the scientists collapsed, screaming. He clutched his chest, gasping that the being had seen everything, every thought, every sin, every secret hidden in his heart. The crew backed away from their stations, terrified. Because they all knew the weaver was watching them too. Finally, the third throne stirred. At first, nothing. Only deeper silence. Then, the shadows moved. The black throne bled darkness, swallowing stars around it. And from that void, a figure rose, taller than the rest, yet thinner, like a reaper carved from shadow. Its eyes glowed faint white, not of life, but of death. Its voice was not loud. It was soft. A whisper that chilled every bone. "I am the third. The end without end. And you, humans, have come too far." The Odyssey shook violently. Systems shut down. Lights flickered. The crew screamed as gravity twisted and alarms howled. Some prayed. Others begged for mercy. The captain stood frozen, his eyes locked on the three beings that now towered over the system. They were not myths. They were not legends. They were real. The Great Three had awakened. And humanity had been seen. The Odyssey trembled in the dark. Engines dead. Lights flickering. 50 humans, alone before giants older than stars. The Great Three had risen. The Keeper burned like living fire, every movement dripping with molten rage. The Weaver glowed with piercing brilliance, a body made of 1,000 suns. The End without end lingered in silence, a shadow so deep it swallowed hope itself. The crew could not move. They could barely breathe. Every heartbeat felt stolen. Every second felt borrowed. Then, without warning, the Keeper's voice thundered again. You have awakened us. Now you will be measured. The ship shook violently. Sparks burst from the ceiling. Panels exploded. The humans fell to the floor, clutching their ears, their heads, their hearts. It was not an attack. It was a command. The awakening had begun. The first test struck instantly. The Weaver's light flared, blinding, pure, endless. And with that light came truth. Every lie, every secret, every hidden thought inside the crew's minds was dragged into the open. A soldier dropped his weapon and screamed that he had betrayed his family. A scientist fell to his knees, confessing to crimes no one had known. Even the captain felt it, his worst fears, his greatest failures, ripped bare before his crew. There was no hiding. The Weaver allowed no shadows. Truth is the first weight, the Weaver declared, its voice like thunder wrapped in light. Only those who face themselves may face us. The crew wept. Some raged. Some begged. But none could escape. Then came the Keeper. His fire roared hotter, and suddenly the air inside the Odyssey turned to heat. Panels melted. Consoles warped. The humans gasped for breath, sweat pouring from their skin. The Keeper's voice rolled like magma. Strength is the second weight. Not the strength of weapons, but the strength to endure. One by one, crew members collapsed from the unbearable heat. Yet still, others stood. Soldiers locked their jaws, refusing to bow. Scientists clung to their stations, refusing to abandon their posts. The captain himself stood tall, his body trembling, his voice hoarse, but his will unbroken. This was not war. This was survival. Finally, the End without end spoke. Fear is the last weight. And darkness fell. Not the darkness of night, but the darkness of death. Every light died. Every screen shattered. Every human heart slowed, and in that moment, each soul aboard the Odyssey was dragged into their own nightmare. They saw Earth burning. They saw their loved ones dying. They saw themselves alone, drifting forever in the cold, forgotten by history, erased by the void. Screams filled the ship. Not of pain. Not of heat. But of terror. Some begged for it to end. Others tried to claw at their own eyes to escape the visions. But the darkness did not end. The shadow's whisper echoed inside every mind. Fear breaks the weak. Fear shapes the strong. What are you, humans? Weak or strong? Minutes felt like hours. Hours felt like eternity. And then light returned. The darkness lifted. The visions ended. The humans lay scattered across the floor, broken, shaking, sobbing. But some still lived. Some still stood. The Keeper burned brighter. The Weaver shone harsher. The End without end stared with hollow eyes. Together, their voices filled the ship. You are not gods. You are not demons. But you are flame. The captain looked up, his body trembling. What does that mean? He asked. The Weaver's voice pierced him like a blade. It means you are not finished. For a moment, silence returned. But it was not peace. It was the silence of a trial unfinished. Because the awakening was not over. This was only the beginning. The Great Three had tested their bodies. They had tested their hearts. Now, they would test their destiny. The captain clenched his fists. His crew struggled to rise. Every face was pale, hollow, broken. But their eyes, Their eyes still burned. And the great three saw it. The keeper's fire flickered, as though curious. The weaver's light shifted, as though intrigued. Even the end without end tilted its shadowed head, as though amused. The awakening had begun. And humanity was not finished yet. The Odyssey drifted in silence, half-broken, its crew exhausted and shaken. Yet even in their fear, not one human looked away. The great three stood before them, towering over the black star. The keeper of beginnings burned brighter than ever. His molten body cracked with rivers of fire. Sparks drifted into the void like dying stars. When he finally moved, the void itself seemed to tremble. "I am the first," the keeper declared, his voice rolling like thunder through molten stone. "I am the flame that starts all things. I am the fire of creation, the spark that turns nothing into something. Before me, even the void must bow." The crew felt his words as heat, pressing into their skin, burning through their bones. It was not sound. It was not language. It was truth. The keeper's fiery gaze locked onto the captain. "You, human, why do you seek us?" The captain swallowed hard. His throat was dry, his body trembling, but he forced himself to stand. We followed the signal. We came searching for knowledge. For answers." The keeper's molten jaw cracked open, spilling flame into the void. It looked like a smile, or perhaps, a warning. "Knowledge," the keeper rumbled. "Do you not already hold it? You shape worlds. You break stars. You kill and you create. What more do you need?" The crew exchanged fearful glances. They had no answer. The keeper's flames roared higher, casting shadows across the ship. "I will show you," he said. "I will show you what it means to begin." Without warning, the Odyssey's view screens flickered. The crew gasped as visions poured into their eyes, not illusions, not dreams, but raw reality. They saw the birth of a star, a fireball roaring into existence, pulling planets into orbit, creating life from nothing. They saw worlds rising from dust, oceans forming, skies breathing, creatures crawling into being. Then, they saw fire. War. Creation turning to destruction. Civilizations rising and falling. And finally, silence again. The keeper's voice thundered. "This is the truth of beginnings. Every start must burn. Every flame must consume." The crew shook, overwhelmed by the visions. Some wept. Some screamed. Some stared in silence, broken by the weight of it all. The captain clenched his fists. His voice cracked, but he spoke. "If every beginning must burn, then what are we? Are humans only another fire, meant to burn and die?" The keeper's burning eyes narrowed. "You are not like the others. You are the fire that refuses to die. You fall, and you rise again. You are fragile, and yet unyielding. Weak, and yet unstoppable." The crew felt the truth of those words sink into their bones. Humanity had been crushed by war, scarred by history, mocked by the elder races. And yet, they endured. Always, they endured. The keeper's flames dimmed slightly, as though in respect. "This is why you stand here now. This is why you are seen. You are the flame that does not end." But respect was not safety. The keeper raised a hand, molten fire swirling like a storm. The crew braced themselves, thinking he meant to strike them down. Instead, the fire exploded outward, not at them, but around them. The black star itself shuddered. 3 planets, long dead and broken, suddenly burst into flame. Volcanoes erupted. Atmospheres formed. Seas boiled into life. In moments, lifeless rocks became living worlds. The crew stared, stunned. "This is my gift," the keeper roared. "The fire of creation. But know this, humans, what I give, I can take. And what I start, I can end." The visions faded. The planets dimmed. The fire died. The keeper leaned closer, his eyes burning into the crew's souls. "Now you understand beginnings. But beginnings are not enough. You must face truth. You must face end." The weaver's light flared. The end without end's shadow stretched across the void. The captain whispered, his voice hoarse, "This is only the first." And deep in their hearts, Every human aboard the Odyssey knew it was true. They had survived the Keeper of Beginnings. But 2 more still waited. 2 more trials. 2 more truths. The fire was only the start. The Keeper's fire dimmed, but the heat remained in the crew's bones. Every human aboard the Odyssey trembled not from weakness, but from the weight of what they had seen. The Great 3 were not myths. They were real. And they were not finished. The Weaver of Truth stirred next. Her body shimmered like living starlight, thousands of suns woven into a shape that bent the eyes, bent the mind. Her voice was soft compared to the Keeper's roar, yet sharper, colder, impossible to ignore. "You have faced beginnings," she said. "Now you will face worth. For all things that begin must prove they deserve to continue." The crew stiffened. Soldiers raised their weapons instinctively, though they knew they were useless. Scientists clutched their consoles, desperate for reason in a place where reason did not exist. The Weaver raised a hand of light. "The test begins." The Odyssey's systems shut down. Engines dead. Shields gone. Lights flickering. Then, the ship split. Not by fire, not by explosion, but by illusion. Each human suddenly found themselves alone, standing in an endless void of light. No ship. No crew. Only themselves. At first, they thought it was a trick. But then, the trials began. A young pilot named Aaron stood in the light. Before him appeared a choice. 2 doors, both glowing. One door led to survival, for him alone. The other led to death for him, but his crew would live. His chest tightened. Sweat poured down his face. He whispered, "This isn't real. This isn't real." But the doors remained. Aaron screamed as the light forced him to choose. Elsewhere, a soldier named Helena faced her test. Before her appeared an enemy, an alien soldier from a war she had once fought. The voice of the Weaver echoed. "Kill him, and you win. Spare him, and you lose." Helena's hands shook. Her heart pounded. She raised her weapon, her finger trembling on the trigger. But when she looked closer, she saw his eyes. He was afraid. Afraid, just as she had once been. Her weapon clattered to the ground. And the vision vanished. One by one, the crew faced their own trials. A mother saw her child begging for food she could not give. A scientist faced the choice to erase his life's work to save strangers. A medic had to decide whether to save the captain or 5 soldiers who would die without her help. Each test cut deeper than knives. There was no escape. No lies. Only choice. Meanwhile, the captain faced his own trial. He stood before the Weaver herself, her body shining brighter than stars. "You are their leader," she said. "Then lead. Choose who will live and who will die." The captain's eyes widened. Before him appeared his crew, bound in chains of light. Half on one side. Half on the other. "You may save only one group," the Weaver whispered. "The others will burn." The captain's throat closed. His hands shook. He looked at each face, men and women who had trusted him, who had followed him into the void. "No," he whispered. "I won't choose." "You must," the Weaver replied. He fell to his knees. His heart pounded like a drum in his chest. Still, he refused. And then, something changed. The chains dissolved. The crew vanished. The light dimmed. The Weaver's voice echoed softly. "Even in despair, you choose defiance. That is human worth." When the visions ended, the crew collapsed back onto the Odyssey's floor. They gasped for breath, trembling, broken, yet alive. Some had failed. Some had passed. But all had been changed. The Weaver's glow dimmed slightly, as though satisfied. "You are weighed," she said. "You are scarred. But you remain. That is enough, for now." Silence fell again. The Keeper's fire smoldered. The Weaver's light shimmered faintly. And then, slowly, the shadow of the 3rd throne began to rise. The end without end. The crew's hearts froze. Their eyes filled with dread. Because if the Keeper was fire, and the Weaver was truth, then the 3rd could only be one thing. Death. The captain whispered, voice hollow with fear. This is the final test." And in the silence that followed, the shadow leaned forward, its voice a whisper colder than the void. Now, humans, you will face me. The shadow moved. It did not burn like the keeper. It did not shine like the weaver. It was absence. A silence so complete it crushed every thought, every heartbeat, every breath. The humans felt it before they heard it, like standing on the edge of an endless cliff, staring into a drop that never ended. Then, a voice spoke. Not loud. Not soft. But final. I am the end without end. The last shadow. The first silence. I am what all life becomes. The crew trembled. Even the captain, who had stood defiant before the weaver, felt his strength collapse under the weight of those words. The shadow leaned closer, filling the void around them. You have faced fire. You have faced truth. Now you will face me. For all that burns, and all that shines, must end. The ship shuddered. The Odyssey's walls twisted, melting into darkness. The crew screamed as they found themselves floating in a black sea. No stars. No light. No sound except the beating of their own hearts. And then, the darkness began to take. One by one, memories were stripped away. The pilot Aaron felt his childhood vanish, the smell of his mother's kitchen, gone. The laughter of his friends, gone. He screamed, trying to hold on, but the darkness devoured everything. The soldier Helena clutched her chest as her battles faded, her victories erased, her sacrifices forgotten. She tried to shout her own name, but no sound came. The scientist's equations vanished. The medic's patience faded into nothing. The captain's command, his ship, his very purpose, dissolved like smoke. The shadow whispered. This is truth. Nothing endures. All things fall. All memory fades. All glory dies. This is the end that cannot be defeated. Terror spread. The crew fought to hold on to themselves, but the more they struggled, the faster they were unmade. The captain cried out. No. Humanity is not nothing. We are more than dust. The shadow's voice rumbled, colder than the void. Then prove it. Show me what endures. The captain forced himself to remember. Not battles. Not victories. But the small things. A child's laugh. A sunrise over Earth's oceans. The warmth of holding another's hand in the dark. The more he remembered, the brighter he burned. Helena remembered too the kindness of a stranger who once saved her life. The medic remembered a boy who lived because she refused to give up. The scientist remembered the spark of discovery, the joy of creation. One by one, each human clung to something. Not power. Not pride. But love. Connection. The fragile, simple things that made them human. The darkness roared, trying to devour it all. But it could not. Because in that void, the humans stood together. Their memories linked, their voices silent but united. And in that unity, there was something the end without end could not erase. The shadow paused. For the first time, it did not speak. Then, slowly, it pulled back. Strange creatures, it whispered. You are fragile. Weak. Yet you hold fire, truth, and memory against the end. Few have done this. Fewer still have endured. The crew gasped as light returned. The Black Sea vanished. The Odyssey's walls reformed around them. Their breath came ragged, their bodies trembling, but they were whole. The shadow's throne loomed over them, still vast, still terrible, yet no longer consuming. You have faced me, and you remain. For this, you are marked. For this, you are known. The three thrones glowed together now, fire, light, and shadow. The keeper's voice thundered. We have tested you. You have not broken. The weaver's voice cut sharp. You have worth. And the end without end whispered. You have endured. The crew stared in awe, their hearts shaking, their eyes wide with fear and wonder. The captain whispered, almost to himself. What does this mean for humanity? The three voices spoke together, shaking the galaxy itself. It means humanity is no longer hidden. No longer forgotten. No longer small. You are seen. You are chosen. You are bound to the great three. Silence followed. The weight of those words crushed every human aboard the Odyssey. Seen. Chosen. Bound. But bound to what? No one dared to ask. The three thrones glowed brighter, and for the first time in thousands of years, the great three looked upon humanity not as children, not as prey, not as dust, but as something else. Something dangerous. And somewhere, deep in the shadows of space, the other empires felt it. They did not know why. They did not know how. But they shivered. Because the balance of the galaxy had shifted. And it would never be the same again. The Odyssey drifted in silence. The crew had survived the fire of the Keeper. They had endured the trials of the Weaver. They had faced the shadow of the end without end. And now, before the thrones of the Great Three, they waited broken, trembling, yet alive. The thrones glowed brighter than suns. The void itself bent around their power. Then, the three voices spoke together. Humanity has been tested. Humanity has been weighed. Humanity has endured. But the final step remains. Now, you must choose. The words struck like thunder. The captain's heart froze. The crew exchanged fearful glances. Choose, the medic whispered. Choose what? The Keeper's fire roared. You may walk away. Return to your fragile worlds. Forget what you have seen. The galaxy will laugh at you still. The Weaver's light burned sharper. Or, you may take our mark. Accept our bond. Stand as heirs of the fire, the truth, and the end. But once chosen, it cannot be undone. And then the shadow of the end without end whispered. To accept is to rise. To refuse is to fall. Choose, children of Earth. Choose. The crew's voices broke into panic. If we refuse, do they kill us? Aaron muttered, sweat dripping from his face. Helena shook her head, eyes hard. No. Worse. They'll let us live, knowing we were too weak to claim what was offered. The scientist clenched his fists. If we accept, what does it mean? Do we serve them? Do we become them? No one knew. No one could know. The captain stood frozen. His entire body trembled with the weight of it. Humanity's future balanced on this choice. One word, one decision, and everything would change. He thought of Earth, the crowded cities, the rising towers, the children laughing under blue skies. He thought of wars, of failures, of humanity's hunger to reach farther than any species dared. And he knew the truth. They could never turn back. Slowly, he raised his head. His voice was rough, but strong. Humanity accepts. The words rang through the void like a bell. The ship groaned. The air thickened. The thrones of the Great Three shook with a force that tore through space itself. The Keeper's flame surged, wrapping the ship in fire. The Weaver's light burned, etching patterns into the crew's skin, marks that glowed like living stars. The end without end spread its shadow, chilling their bones, binding their lives to silence itself. The crew screamed as power ripped through them. Every nerve burned. Every heartbeat shook. Their minds stretched farther than they had ever known. And then, silence. The humans collapsed, gasping, their bodies trembling. But when they looked at each other, they saw the truth. They were changed. Marks of fire, light, and shadow glowed faintly beneath their skin. Not scars. Not wounds. Something deeper. Something eternal. The Great Three spoke as one. You are bound. You are heirs. You are the first of a new kind. Wherever you walk, our fire burns, our truth weaves, our end endures. You are no longer small. You are no longer hidden. You are humanity, and you are ours. The thrones dimmed, their vast figures withdrawing back into silence. But their final words lingered, etched into the hearts of every human aboard the Odyssey. The galaxy will know. The galaxy will fear. The galaxy will change. The Odyssey drifted back into normal space. Stars returned. Engines hummed. Systems rebooted. The crew sat in silence, unable to speak, unable to comprehend what had just happened. Finally, the medic whispered. What have we become? The captain stared at the stars ahead. His voice was low, steady, unshakable. Something the galaxy will never forget. Already, the signal of their return spread across the void. Empires felt the shift. Leaders trembled. Armies paused. Because in the heartbeat of the universe, something new had been born. Humanity was no longer one species among many. They were something greater. Something chosen. Something dangerous. The galaxy had always mocked them. The galaxy had always underestimated them. But now, the galaxy would learn. And far away, in the deepest corners of space, whispers spread like wildfire. The Great Three have returned. And they did not choose the oldest empire. They chose the humans. The Odyssey's engines flared, carrying them home. But they all knew the truth. There was no going back. Earth would never be the same. The galaxy would never be the same. Because humanity had faced the fire. They had faced the truth. They had faced the end. And they had chosen. Now, the galaxy would face them.